Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this glorious afternoon here in the Masai Mara. A special welcome to the kids watching the Nat Geo Kids show. That's for the Please do talk to us. You can do that by getting your parents to send us through a question on the email address natgeokids@wildearth.tv. That's natgeokids@wildearth.tv. My name is James Henry, and it is marvellous to have you with us. I have got Bungay on camera. There are his 5 fingers. Isn't it lucky that he still has 5 fingers? All right, let's go back and have a look at the elephants there. We didn't come here looking for elephants. We came here rather to find the Sausage Tree Pride. And they are a pride of lions consisting of 5 lionesses, 6 cubs at this stage, and 2 males. Well, they're not part of the pride, the 2 males. They look after the pride, and they're called the Oldonyo Payek males. Now, we haven't had much success. We saw a lioness at a very long distance, probably about, well, I'd say almost a mile away from the top of a hillside we were sitting on, and we came down to look for her, and we haven't had any luck at all. But that's what we're going to be looking for over the course of the afternoon, and we'll enjoy it very much, along with you, I hope. Now, we're not only coming to you live from the Masai Mara in Kenya, we're also live from Juma Private Game Reserve on the western fringes of the Kruger National Park, where Jamie is.
Welcome from Juma, which is, of course, halfway across the African continent from where James is. And it is cold, cloudy and windy, which it actually makes a very nice change from the weather we've been having. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon Craig, also known as Batman, is behind the camera, operating it with a true level of proficiency and skill. And a very warm welcome to the Nat Geo kids joining us this afternoon. We're very excited to have you on safari. Now, I am looking for a leopard, but like James, when you're out on safari, you find all sorts of unexpected things out and about, as I found this morning when I found very little. I found some lions, actually. That's not true. I found lions this morning. Unfortunately, they went where we could not follow, and we spent the rest of the morning searching for a leopard. What we found instead this afternoon is an antelope known as an impala. And these are 2 male impala. I know that they are males because they have horns. Now, in some antelope, the females have horns, and some they don't. So there's lots of different species of antelope. In the case of the impala, the females do not have horns, and the males do, and they use them for battling each other when it comes to breeding season. Now, it's not breeding season now, so these 2 are relatively relaxed. I actually stopped because I noticed them looking off into the bush to the right of me, and I don't see what they're seeing. But in weather like this, a lot of the animals get very, very nervous. Whether we're talking about an antelope or perhaps we're talking about an elephant, animals out here rely on their sense of smell and their hearing. So you can imagine how scary it is for them when the wind is blowing, because it means that the leaves are making lots and lots of noise. They can't smell. They're not sure if it's the leaves rustling or if it's actually a predator sneaking up behind them. So when it's windy like this, most of the animals tend to be a bit more nervous, constantly looking around, constantly checking that there isn't a surprise waiting around the next corner. We, on the other hand, don't get nervous because we welcome surprises around the next corner, and we're going to carry on. So hold on to your hats, really hold on to your hats, it's very windy. We are going to keep on going, and we're going to go and check the waterhole. Now, one of the ways that we find animals out here is by looking at the clues they leave behind, and that includes their footprints in the soil. Now, some animals it's very easy to see a footprint. Something like an elephant, for example, leaves behind quite a big, very obvious footprint. But some animals are very light on their feet, like a leopard. which means that you have to check very, very carefully to see if they've walked around and if you can see if you can spot them. So while I go do that, Steve is also very, very good at looking for clues. He's out and about as well, and he'd love to say hello.
Good afternoon, boys and girls. Welcome to my vehicle. I'm not far away from where Jamie is, and well, my name is Steve. I'm joined on camera by Sebastian, and it is his birthday. So let's all wish him a very happy birthday. Yay! Happy birthday, Seb. I'm sure you've been told all the information you need to know. Well, we are going to see if we can help Jamie find that male leopard. There were also reports of some wild dogs that might have come onto the property. But the thing is with wild dogs is that when they come, they can go straight through the other side. It's quite windy and overcast. It's possible there might be some rain. That's why we've got this roof on top of our car, because when it gets wet out here, it can get very wet. And we've got lots of expensive equipment, so we have to be careful. But what we're doing is looking on the ground, because one thing animals do when they walk is they stand on top of the ground. And so they leave the tracks behind, and that is how we find them. Sometimes, though, we find them, like with Jamie, she had Impala there, looking a little bit nervous. Looking a bit nervous, because when you're nervous like that, it means that sometimes there might be a predator nearby. But also, when it's windy like this, it's very difficult for the animals to hear what's going on. So when it's windy, the lions and leopards can sneak up on the Impala. So they can be quite tricky. So we're checking all these little watering holes. You can see just next to us here, there's a little small wallow. Something that animals need to do is they need to drink. Captain Awesome, you'd like to see a chameleon. Well, normally we only find chameleons after dark, so I don't think it's going to happen during this 1 hour Nat Geo Kids drive, but we'll see what we can do. I'll keep my eyes peeled for chameleon, bearing in mind chameleons are very camouflaged. They're about as camouflaged as you get. Not only are they camouflaged, they're able to change their coloration dependent on the new environment that they sit on, which I find incredible. Wouldn't you love to be able to do that, boys and girls? To be able to just suddenly go green, or to match the soil there, or suddenly blend in with a vehicle? How cool would that be? Your mom and dad would never be able to find you. How awesome would that be? You'd be the best at hide and seek, that's for sure. Most certainly the best. It does sound like a lot of fun. So chameleons, we will keep our eyes peeled. But for now, we're looking at the road, we're looking at the tracks. We're going to check the watering holes, because that's where the animals generally we're going to go to. But while we search and see what we can find, let's go all the way back up to the Masai Mara with my good friend James and see what he's got for you now.
Righty, so we are still looking for our lions, though we do see a couple of other safari vehicles up in front of us, in amongst the trees there, and it's quite possible that the rest of the pride is in that area. So we might be lucky, I hope so. We have seen a couple more elephants, a few butterflies, and it's just a lovely afternoon. The temperature is perfect out here. I'd say it's about 25 degrees Celsius or so, 75 Fahrenheit, maybe a little bit warmer. That's certainly what it feels like at the moment. Now, we've just got to decide whether we should try and cross over here again or just drive into this area and see. No, Umka, I did not wear my Saturday shorts, I'm afraid. It's a very good question. I wore normal shorts today. I did have my Saturday shorts on earlier on Saturday, but not right now. Right, let's see if we can get across. There was our crossing point. Yeah. Hold on, everybody. Mrs. Zero, I will definitely try and show you some more elephants. We just need to see if we can find these lions, because I'm so desperate to meet their brand new little cubs, which are probably only about 3 weeks old, I think. And that will be very special. So we're just going to nip across here. and look in amongst these beautiful trees on the banks of this little brook or stream. Like I say, I can see another safari vehicle there, so it's quite possible that they've got some lions there with them. I think it's very likely, actually. Oh, here we go. Okay, you're not going to wait for us to see if we find the lions. Let's go back to Steve.
Thanks, James. Well, a lovely day up in the Mara. It's a little bit overcast here, as I said, but we are in our summer month, so it's normally very hot this time of year, so we're quite enjoying this cooler weather. I even brought a jacket with me today, which is unheard of for this time of year. It's mainly, I suppose, for the possibility of rain. Okay, so what we're doing is we are looking along the roads because we've got Jamie out. There's another vehicle who's from the lodge is also out, so looking for tracks on the road. When the weather's like this and cool, there's such a good opportunity for cats such as lions and leopards to be moving. If it was a hot day, they would be just lying flat somewhere in the shade, probably close to water, and no chance that they would have moved from this morning. But we didn't find any this morning, so they are moving around, and hopefully we'll be able to find some fresh tracks for you, because it is one of those days. Lovely Saturday. We like to find cats on a Saturday. We call it Cataday, and most of our normal viewers get very excited on Saturdays when we find all the cats. We do have lots of them around, but for now, because it's so windy, even the animals such as impala and kuru are hiding, just gone. They're trying to escape the wind and escape the predators. You see, as we go along, this little road has got all of these little mud wallows and points of water, and that's created from the rain that we get this time of year. It's natural pools, natural puddles, a very, very important part of this area. Without the water, the animals would not survive. So always checking where the water is, because, well, just like us, we can't go for very long, and neither can the animals without water. So if you check all the watering points, there's a good chance you might find someone sleeping next to it. And also, because the animals have to come and drink, you often see their footprints there and around. Okay, well, maybe we'll find some elephant for you as well. They don't mind the wind too much. They like it when it's a bit cooler, but they also need lots of water every day. Deborah, you want to know if Daryl came back to the camp last night? Well, Deborah, he most certainly did. And, well, he broke the gate. We got a big wooden palisade gate next to FC. And when we came through this morning, it was flat on the ground. Flat, flat, flat. And there was giant elephant poo in camp. And there's an impala. And one of the new small sapling trees that was planted in our camp to provide some shade in the next 5 to 10 years, well, that was completely removed by Big Daryl, a big elephant. So here you can see a male impala. Look at him. He's not looking very relaxed, is he? His ears are twitching. He's listening. You can see the branch behind him is moving. So he's on his own. Where are all your friends, sir? The animals are very jumpy and skittish in this weather, because their ears are such an important element in detecting predators. Their eyesight's pretty good as well, but they love to be able to hear and to smell. But when the wind is blowing like this, it's swirling, and you can't really tell which direction the leopard or lion is coming from. So all the animals we're going to find today are going to be very, very jumpy. Look at his nose, trying to figure out what's going on. Listening. Oh, he's probably going to run off in a second. Get very jumpy. They're very fast, though, impalas. So as long as he's sort of in the open like this, there's a good chance if something scares him, he'll be able to run away. but he should be hanging out with some friends because it's very lonely out in the wilderness on your own. If you don't have any friends, when the lion or leopard comes, you're the only one they have to choose from. And so statistically, they're going to catch you. But anyway, we're going to check another few watering holes as we make our way slowly south. But let's go towards the western side, towards Jamie, who I believe has found some leopard tracks.
Now, Steve has reiterated or told you that all of the animals are jumpy and nervous at with this sort of weather. But those impala that we saw earlier were jumpy for a very, very good reason. It was because a leopard walked past them at some point a little bit before we drove on that road. So I'm working together with one of the other guides. His name is Aubrey. And we are working around where these leopard walked. So you know how I said that there's clues that the animals leave behind? Well, we found some footprints of the leopard moving into this area over here. So between the two of us, I'm hoping that we might just get lucky. And I have a sneaky suspicion that it's not just one leopard. I think there's two leopards wandering about, because there's tracks of different sizes. And I'm quite frustrated. Not frustrated. It's all part of this whole experience, but I feel like I've been one step behind this leopard all day. The tracks, every time I find the tracks, they're beautifully fresh. Like the leopard just walked there, and then I can't find it again. So I'm hoping that that doesn't continue to be the case. Hopefully we drive the right road, we take the right route, and we find this leopard wherever it may be. Somewhere here, hiding. Leopards are very, very good at hiding. Their camouflage makes them very difficult to spot. Haha. They've got rosettes on them that break up their outline. And that means that you have to concentrate really hard when you're looking for them. But that doesn't mean that you don't stop for other animals, because you're so busy looking really, really hard for leopard that you will see lots of other things along the way, which is what my plan is. Now we're going to creep around here. There's a river system that runs along here that the leopards really, really like. And by the way, you'll notice every now and again that there is a pole in the way. That is because it looks like it might rain. So we've just put a roof on just in case, because obviously there's a camera. We're waterproof, but the equipment isn't. So we've got a roof on to help to keep ourselves dry if it does rain. It does look very gloomy out here, doesn't it? It looks a lot like it's going to rain. There is an enormous storm system off the east of us towards the coastline. Massive storm that's right now probably making some people's lives quite miserable, although certainly bringing the rain that was necessary. But it really was a big storm system, and I think that this is just the tail end of that spinning around us. Don't know whether or not it means we're going to get any rain though. The wind, to me, the wind is blowing too hard for us to get rain. It needs to drop. The wind is blowing really hard. It keeps blowing dust into our eyes. Yeah, I'm going to concentrate really, really hard on looking for those footprints and for those leopards. Let's send you across to James, who I think has found what he was searching for. Well done, James.
We've found our lions, thankfully. Well, we found one lion. We're not sure if this is the same lion we saw earlier. I'm tending to think that it isn't, because she's quite a long way from where we saw her. But she's looking intently around the place. And I don't know if the rest of the pride is close by here or what's going on. But she's got a beautiful spot. You can see she's watching elephants, or an elephant. There's another elephant off to the right there. She's got a lovely view. Now, in this pride of lions, there are at least 3 mothers at the moment. And we think maybe even 4 at this stage. So 2 of them have got cubs that are between 4 and 5 months old. Those are the first 3 cubs. We know that there are some younger cubs also, about 3 weeks old. This could be the mother of those cubs. And we also know that there's another lioness called Kinky Tail, who's very pregnant, and she's probably about to give birth also, if she hasn't given birth. So there are lots of lions around this area. It's just a question of trying to find them all, really. Well, Alana, she certainly looks like a noble lioness sitting here, doesn't she? She looks like she's very regal, surveying her domain. You wouldn't think she was too noble if you saw her at a kill, I promise you that much. But yes, at the moment, very regal indeed. And she's found herself the most spectacular part of this beautiful area to sit in. I will tell you, it's probably a lot easier walking up here as a lioness than it is driving up, because there are lots and lots of rocks on the ground. Yes, Mrs. Lapwing, I would agree with you completely. I think Kinky Tail, the oldest lioness in the pride, is probably extremely uncomfortable if she hasn't given birth. If she has given birth, well, then she's probably in the throes of, well, joyful motherhood at the moment. Now, we're going to sit with this lioness for a little while and see if she doesn't lead us down towards some other cubs. The fact that she's on her own indicates to me that it is most likely that she is one of the mothers. And she's just looking down around the place to see perhaps if there's something nice for her to eat, perhaps looking for the rest of the pride. I'm pretty sure she will know where the rest of the pride is, however, because lions do keep in contact somehow. I don't really know how. But she'll probably know where they are, because she's come from down to the south of where we are now. I suspect she probably came from where the others are. Let's go back to her, see what she's looking at. You have to admit, this is a beautiful part of the world to live. She is looking very intently into the clearings down below here. Now, obviously, an elephant is much too big for her to try and kill. Rosalind, you're wondering about the gestation period of a lion. It's about 110 days, which is just over 3 months, just shy of 4 months. That's what they say. Remember, any of these figures that we give you, so if you ask me, for example, and I know this only because of today's research, if you ask me what a striped polecat's gestation period is, I'll tell you it's 36 days. But obviously, just like with humans where there's a variability, there is a variability with the lions too. So when I say 110 days, well, it's quite possibly 100 for some, maybe 120 for others. She's looking in very fine condition. Her skin is taut. Her muscles are strong. She looks like she's shining. I think she's in very good health. Righty, I'm not going to go anywhere from here. I'm going to wait to see what this lioness does. And while we wait, let's go to Tristan with something very interesting.
Well, James, aren't you lucky this afternoon that you've already found a lion on a beautiful afternoon surveying her domain? We have not found a lion just yet. We have found an animal that the lions in this part of the world, in South Africa, like to eat quite regularly, and that is called a kudu, which is something that, like I say, is hunted quite a lot. My name is Tristan, though, and on camera I've got Jeandre this afternoon, and it is a very warm welcome to all of you. Hopefully you're having a wonderful time with us so far. Now, these kudu that we've got here, it's just a small little group. There's some females, and then the one that we saw was a young male. The young male, you can see his horns are starting to kind of grow, so he's unfortunately quite obscured behind the bush. There's another one that's out in the open to the right who's going to move far too fast, unfortunately. They are, for some reason, a little bit kind of skittish. It's kind of just going behind the mountain. It should come out on the other side, Jeandre. Pretty sure he will see his horns sticking out just now. But this young male will be still with
the majority of the herd. He's young enough that he's not in a condition that he's going to be able to mate or to have a girlfriend, and so the big male kudus, the big daddy kudus, they're not going to really worry about him too much. So he's probably about 1.5 to 2 years old, somewhere around there, and only when they reach about 3.5 do they start actually breeding. So for now he's still with his natal grouping, and he'll have his mother and she'll have new little calf even with him being around, which is quite interesting. But they've all disappeared into a bit of a thicket. I can see one that's on the edge of the road right down in the distance. If you follow the windy road, there's another female that is down there, and these guys are actually the largest antelope that we get in this part of South Africa. These kudu are very, very big, particularly the big males. They can weigh quite a lot and are incredibly beautiful, and it's why things like lions go after them and try and kind of hunt them, because at least it's a decent sized meal for them. Good. We're going to see what else is around. These guys are always good to have around because they're very good at spotting predators and those kind of things, but they do have a rival in terms of size as to the sort of biggest of the antelope that we see, and Steve has got the other competitor in the bout.
Well, as I said, boys and girls, we were going to check the watering holes to see what we can find. And, well, we have indeed found a few animals here. 2 big waterbuck there on the left with the horns. And now we have got a warthog on the right, and that is also a male. Aren't they beautiful? They are spending time around the watering hole because they need to drink. And you can see the warthog is busy eating as he goes. Constantly eating warthogs. They're very, very hungry animals. And you can see the waterbuck at the back there. They're busy chewing. They've got a very different way of dealing with their food. They feed on quite similar vegetation, but the warthog feeds very low to the ground, and they can actually dig up the roots and the shoots of the grasses. Kathy, what female antelope have horns? Well, generally speaking, the antelope that have horns, male and female, are the ones that you find in an open system, so a much more open grassland system. So wildebeest, buffalo, springbok, Thompson's gazelle, topi. Those animals, generally male and female, have horns because the females, they will often turn around and chase a lion, a jackal, or even a hyena away from the baby. But out here, where the vegetation's quite thick, there's lots of trees and lots of bushes, it's not an advantage for the female to have horns. The male has them for fighting, and the female, well, she will just hide in the bushes or run very quickly to get away and then hide. Males need them for fighting, and they are constantly growing throughout their life. Watch him. He's just swallowed some food. Oh, what spooked him? Something's spooking him. Can you see that? Whoopsie. Up he gets. You'll go and investigate. It's the wind once again, boys and girls. That's getting them a little bit jumpy. Hello, Peter. You want to know if the sound of the vehicles scare them? Well, not really, not all the time. The animals are generally quite used to the vehicles, but on a day like this when it's windy, any noise will make them jump. So if I start the car now when they're looking a little bit alert, then there's a good chance they might just jump and move off a little bit. But they're not really threatened by us. It's maybe just the surprise they might get if they hear the vehicle starting. But see how those 2 waterbuck are protecting the warthog. He's actually standing in the middle of them because he knows that they're taller than he is and they can see a little bit further. Oh, oopsie, got a bit of a limp there. Is he going to go and drink? Makes sense to hang out with other friends. That other impala was on his own. If you're hanging out on your own, there's a very good chance something's going to catch you. But if you can hang out with other species, he's going to follow him now. Isn't that cute? A little bromance happening here. The boys hanging on down by the local watering hole. And you see the waterbuck has possibly spotted something and walking a bit closer to investigate. But by the fact that it was still chewing, means that it's quite relaxed. See, the waterbuck, they will eat grass and fill their tummies with grass, and then they will regurgitate it back into the mouth and then chew it and chew it and chew it some more before swallowing. and that makes it much easier to digest. And I believe most animals can swim, and waterbuck have got an oily secretion on their skin that actually keeps their fur dry. So they're quite well known, if they get chased by a predator, to run into the water, and the water will actually move off of their fur like it would off of a duck's back. It's kind of water insoluble, kind of like a duck's feathers would be. And that's so that they don't get waterlogged and drown. And they're very, very well adapted for being in the water. And I've never actually seen them run into the water, but they do occur, and most often occur in areas where it's very swampy and lots of sort of tall reed-like vegetation with sort of knee-like water. Oh, there we go. He's having another little sit down. Seems like the tragedy has been averted, and whatever danger there might have been is now gone. But oh, there's a little goose down there behind the waterbuck. Has also come out to have a little look. Probably also the boy. He's on his own. I can't really tell the difference between male and female Egyptian goose, but aren't they funny looking? Very funny. Obviously, they are always near water. He's a bit jumpy. He's wondering where his partner's gone. Now, very common geese occurring throughout Africa. Emma wants to know if Egyptian geese walk like Egyptians. Well, they probably do. They probably do, but I always used to think the name Egyptian goose came from the fact that they were first discovered in the Nile, and it possibly is the case, but I've also read recently that their facial mask actually resembles that of the Egyptian pharaohs, and so that is why they've been named Egyptian. So you can see it's busy feeding on the seeds of the grass there with its beak. It just snaps down on the bark, on the grass, and then pulls it through, and then the seeds go in. They are grazers. They feed on seeds, organic material, algae and fungi that's growing in the water itself. And it's very well known to come onto land like this and graze, but not the most efficient of systems with the beak. Just waddling along. He's not walking like an Egyptian now, I'm afraid, Emma. So definitely not that named after them. He's very interested as to what's going on with these waterbuck, though. Okay, well, it seems as if James is having all the luck up in the Mara with the predators. Let's go over to him with his beautiful lion.
Well, it's the same bit of luck we had last time, and it is, of course, this lioness of the Sausage Tree Pride. We haven't seen any further evidence of any other members of the Sausage Tree Pride. We are looking carefully, though, trying to see if we can spot a tawny tail with a black pom-pom flicking in the grass. As yet, nothing. And I said to Isaac, who's another guide sitting on the car with me, I said, what do you think she's looking at? And he said, she's probably looking for warthogs. And actually, I can see a warthog, which I don't think she can see. I can see it way down in the clearings there. I can only see it because I've got very powerful binoculars. Might actually be a rock. It's either a rock or a very still warthog. I don't think you'll be able to see it with this camera lens. It's not quite powerful enough to show it to you. But you can see the elephant grazing down there. It's at the end of our lens, Bungay. Is that all we got? Oh, we got a bit more. Okay, well, there's our elephant. There's a topi beyond that, but I'm not going to try and show you that. That's much too far away. Just gives you an idea, or you can see the topi at the top of your picture. Just gives you an idea of how massive this area is. That an elephant can be made to look so small in amongst this gorgeous grassland. It really is one of the most peaceful places to come and sit and experience nature. That is before a storm hits, of course, and there is one brewing just to the north of us. We can hear the thunder going. But to sit and look out over a magnificent area like this, hearing the wind rustling in the trees and moving through the grass with a lioness, looking down at an elephant, some topi, there's a black-headed heron down there somewhere as well, and waiting to see if perhaps her cubs are around here. Warthog is a good size prey item for her, if she's on her own especially. Be an excellent choice. And she'll be quite hungry, I suspect, having to feed all her youngsters. Hello, Jess. A nice question about warthogs and why on earth a warthog should have a wart on its face. Well, it's mainly for defense. The males have them to defend each other against each other. When they fight against each other, they can inflict quite bad damage to their faces using their tusks. And they've got two sets of warts, one just under the eye and one closer down towards the snout. And those help to protect them. Why a female should have a small set of warts down close to her snout, I'm afraid I couldn't tell you. I don't think it makes her look particularly attractive, but maybe it does to male warthogs, to boars. Now, something very interesting about this cat is that she's awake. She's looking around. And while that might sound like a silly thing to say, it really isn't, because lions generally don't do anything except sleep. And that can be for up to 20 hours of the day. And she hasn't closed her eyes once since we've been here. So she's looking around. She can either smell something on the wind, or she knows her cubs are close by, or perhaps the rest of the pride is not too far away. Perhaps she senses some sort of threat. She can smell hyenas, maybe. But you can just sense the peace of this little scene that we have here. Alrighty, we're going to stay with our lioness. Maybe check around the area for some others. You go back to Steve.
Welcome back to South Africa. And well, in the Mara, we get other different species of waterbuck as well. We get the Defassa waterbuck, where that ring on the bottom that you see now, that very interesting white shape, is in the Mara. That is a completely white circle, so even inside is white as well. And I was told a very nice story when I was a child, that the waterbuck was the first animal to go onto Noah's Ark, and therefore the first animal to sit on the newly painted toilet seat. And that is why they've got a white ring on their bottom, which I always found a very funny story. But what they think it is really is that the ring on the bottom is what we call a follow me sign, because the waterbuck, the name waterbuck, means that they probably occur in a very sort of wetland area where the vegetation is very straight up and down. To be able to follow each other, they need to follow a line or a circle, because the lines will get lost in the lines of the reeds, so they follow the circle. That is the belief anyway. And well, if everybody follows you, there's a very little chance the lion's going to catch you, because they're going to be chasing the guy at the back. And that is how evolution has apparently worked, because if you keep following each other, you are safe, you escape the predators, and that sort of adaptation starts to sort of develop in the species. Such a beautiful animal, isn't it? Such a shaggy coat. Hello, Vicky. Well, we don't have any antlers in South Africa. All the animals here have got horns, and the horns are constantly growing through their life, and they are bone. And on the outside, there is keratin on the horns, And as they grow, they get bigger and bigger. And if they break, well, that's it. They're done. They're not going to regrow. So if a horn does break, generally that animal then loses its ability to fight and to fight for ladies. And, well, that genetic sort of trait dies with that animal. Antlers, though, are a hormonal thing that happen in animals up in the northern hemisphere, moose and deer and things like that. And those antlers grow very, very quickly for the mating season when the vegetation is very, very little, and which means they don't get caught in the vegetation, and they're just designed for fighting. And then once they've fought and they've done their thing, they fall off. But horns are very different to that. And all the antelope on the African continent have got horns, which are actually extensions of the skull. So very, very interesting. And you can see all of them are different shapes. You saw the impala had the very sort of what we call lyrate shape. And here you get a very sickle-like shape in the waterbuck. And you see those ridges on the horns. They're actually designed as a non-slip sort of element. And when the horns lock against each other, those ridges prevent the horns from slipping. Because when they do slip, then they will penetrate each other and then they can kill each other. Well, very good news from Jamie. I think she has found for you a spotted surprise.
Good news indeed. We have struck it lucky after following all the clues. Also, very much thanks to Aubrey, who's been helping us follow the clues, especially when I missed quite a crucial one in terms of his tracks crossing the road. But here we have it. We have found at least one of the leopards that we've been searching for. It is our beloved Hosanna, curled up on top of a termite mound, looking for all the world like a teenager caught right in the middle of a growth spurt. So his shoulders are absolutely enormous. Oh, Twitch. There he is, our beautiful boy. I'm still convinced there's another leopard wandering about, but since we haven't found that leopard, I'm perfectly content to spend some time with Hosanna. And as you know, most of you know, he actually usually finds other leopards for us. There he is. Ivy, you would like to know if you can tell whether or not... Oh, big yawn. There we go. Awesome. Ivy would like to know if you can tell whether or not it is a male or a female from its tracks. You absolutely can, Ivy. The big difference, of course, is the size. So a male leopard's track is about a third or so bigger than that of a female. Sometimes it gets a bit confusing where there's a young male and perhaps a big female. But most of the time, the difference between the tracks is pretty clear, which is why I'm convinced that there's another leopard wandering about, because those feet were just far too small for Hosanna's almost clown-like feet that he hasn't quite grown into yet. Not quite as bad as his nephew Tumbers, but still got some growing into them to do. Hey, boy. Apparently lots of you suggesting that he looks quite grumpy. I think he probably is a little bit grumpy. He's got a very sore leg, and it's healing, but it's going to take some time. It's now covered in dirt. That's not the colour of the wound itself. That's just dirt that's collected in there. So it's probably still quite sore. It's windy. It's miserable. He's probably a bit cold after the hot weather. He hasn't managed to catch himself any food, as far as we can tell. Sure. Oh, my boy, you do actually look... Your face has gone all adult. When did that happen? Noble. He does look very, very different all of a sudden. Something's changed. Oh, no, there he is. There's my boy. There's something in the line of his face that's a bit different these days. It's the first time I've noticed it. And then he goes all wide. It's when he's droopy-eyed that he looks older. When he goes all wide-eyed, then he goes back to the young Hosanna that we know and love. Well, he's giving you his best angles here. He's posing like a proper pro. That's my best side. Now you can get the front-on shot. Yeah. Oh, shame. Whenever he twitches like that, it's because there's something, a fly, sitting on his injury, or something twinges, and then he turns around to snap at it. That's why he's twitching that way. It's the first real injury that we've seen Hosana with, though he's probably feeling quite hard done by. Hey, mister. Made his way all the way into the open area of quarantine clearings, right on the sort of western corner. I was actually thinking about it as I was driving this way, thinking about the time I spent a little bit of time with Sindile here. Even did a TV show with him here. Sindile, of course, is Hosana's, oh goodness, also Hosana's nephew, in a really weird way. Just happens to be older than him. So this, for those of you that do not know, this is a young male leopard. He turns 3 years old on the 2nd of February. And we've actually watched him grow up. Oh, there's a big yawn. Another one. I don't think he's going to stay lying down. It's nice and cool and windy, so he's probably going to go hunting. Now, David is looking at the termite mound and wondering how warm it is and whether or not he's going to be getting any warmth from it. I would say it's probably a little bit warmer than the outside air, but mainly because it has been sitting in the sun almost all day until these clouds rolled over. It doesn't look to me like an active termite mound. I can't see any fresh workings around it. Maybe actually that where he's sitting there, it might actually have been freshly done. I could be wrong. No, it looks like it's been broken. I don't think that's an active termite mound. So what David's thinking about is the fact that the termites that live in these termite mounds actually create a great deal of warmth down underground. So because they're busy farming fungus, can you believe it, that an insect can farm something? They farm fungus, they break down food, so it produces lots and lots of heat. And as a result, they actually have to have chimneys or air vents to let the heat out. So there we go, we're up. Hello, my boy. Let's see how he's walking. So sometimes animals sit... What are you looking at? Don't look at Craig that way. That's very rude. You may not... I think he's looking at our roof more than he's looking at Craig. There might be something behind us that he's interested in. All right, we're going to follow young Hosana, see where he heads off to. We're definitely not abandoning him. While we do, Steve has found a feathered friend for you all.
Well done, Jamie. You followed all the signs and the tracks and the trails, and the leopard is there now for you to enjoy. Well done. Well, we found a very special bird. This is called a kingfisher, and this is a very special one indeed. It's called a grey-headed kingfisher, and you can see how long and straight the beak is. And all the kingfishers have a long, straight beak like that. Doesn't necessarily mean they all feed on fish, though. This is a woodland specialist, and it feeds mainly on insects, sometimes a few lizards and even mice, but it will take some frogs and fish, but only on the odd occasion. But you see how brown the belly is, and it's got quite a greyish sort of chest. That is the characteristic feature of this very beautiful bird, and well, I'm very excited to find it. It's my first one of the year. And, well, always very special to see birds. If you don't like birds, kingfishers are a good way to start enjoying. Because look how colourful and pretty he is, with that little head bobbing up and down. He's sitting on the end of the branch there, looking for any insects that might be moving around in the grass. And then he'll flop down and catch them. Very cute. Jonathan, that is a great question. I am not aware of any birds that are capable of crossing the ocean all the way across. Many birds that we get in South Africa come all the way from the north, from either from Africa or from Europe or Asia, but they're able to follow the land mass, so they're able to land in places along the way. Some of them will go down the coastline, but they'll constantly be able to sort of rest on the shore somewhere along the way. Flying across the ocean from North America to Europe or to Africa, it's a very long distance, and the birds just don't have the necessary energy or flight ability to do so. So I've never heard of a bird that's able to fly like that. So the North American birds will migrate from sort of Greenland down into Canada and America, and even down into South America. They'll keep that sort of north-south line moving because they can move along the continents, along the coastline, along the rocky areas, the tree areas. Not only is it the land that they need, they also need the food. So flying over the ocean would be very tricky for feeding themselves as well, because food is not guaranteed along the way. But this is a bird that actually goes up to the north in Africa, not all the way to the north, sort of Central Africa, and then comes back down here. Tom, that's such a great question. When they hatch, most birds, when they hatch, these little types of birds, we call them altricial birds. So when they come out of the nest, or when they come out of the egg, they don't really resemble anything. They resemble just a little ball of feathers, and their beak is a very strange shape. I can't say I've ever seen a very, very small baby kingfisher, but that beak takes a little bit of time to develop. In the beginning, it's just this beak that opens to take the food, and they don't really resemble anything in the name of a bird when they're very, very small. I'm going to see if I can find you a picture of something like that, but I think it takes the first few weeks or a month or so for them to start developing into what the adult looks like. But I don't think they're born like that. It takes a little bit of time for that beak to sort of strengthen and to grow. The beak is essentially just wax and chitin that grows on the end of the face, and the wax just gets more and more and more. The beak in birds is always growing, and that's why many of them will rub it against branches, or they will be rubbing it so that you're just sort of sheathing it off like you would your fingernail. It's always growing because they use it. A lot of them use it for all sorts of things, and little wax sheets come off all the time and constantly being replaced as it grows. So I'm going to see if I can find a bird for you, because it's very funny to see, really, baby birds. There we go. I've got a picture, a very funny looking picture. Just trying to, it's not loading. Daniela, people do like to take birds for pets. I don't know of anybody who's got a kingfisher as a pet. I'm just going to turn this over here. This is what a baby bird looks like when it comes out of the nest. I don't know what species this is, but oopsie, it is very similar to this. Can you see what they look like? They're very strange looking, and their beaks basically just open, going, "Give me food, give me food." And they're blind when they're born, and they've got almost no feathers, and that's why they are in a nest, and then mum needs to look after them. Lots of parental care. But slowly but surely that beak will slowly develop into that of the adult as they get their feathers. But in the beginning, most birds, like this kingfisher, will kind of look like this at birth. So isn't that very strange? You know, I don't know anybody with a kingfisher as a pet, but I think they'd be quite a nice pet. Yes? Very cute. Well, I'm very happy to have spent some time with our kingfisher here today. Grey-headed kingfisher. I hope you're keeping lists over the weeks as we show you all these wonderful animals and wonderful birds. I get a little bit stuck in the sand. We've been sat there for a little while, and the sand is quite deep. But don't worry, we have got a four-wheel drive, and all it takes is a little shift of gear over here, and out we go. Okay, well, it seems as if I am losing a little bit of signal. We are sitting in this river system, the habitat that the kingfisher likes very, very much, but it's very green and very dense, and so the signal that we are trying to emit from the back of our car gets a little bit confused. But anyway, we're going to go back up to the Masai Mara with James, who I think has found some more elephants.
Very green area, much less dense than where Steve is sitting, and we're sitting with a gorgeous herd of elephants. Now, we're going to be sitting with them for probably about 10 minutes or so, I think, because they've got a very tiny little baby with them. And in fact, the one you can see, I don't think is the smallest one. I think there's an even smaller one just behind. There, look, it's tiny. Tiny, tiny, tiny suckling. See that? Maybe born today, maybe a few days old. And while you're looking at the elephants, we're still scanning this area for any sign of the rest of the sausage tree pride. I'm a little bit afraid, I must confess to you, because I can feel a cool wind blowing on the back of my neck. And I think what that means is a big storm coming in. But we cannot see the lions, so let's have a look at these gorgeous elephants. This is a beautiful time of the year for the elephants. The grass is getting longer, it's green, it's abundant. There are lots of different species for them to eat, so they get a lot of variation in the diet. And they are not disturbed by the pesky 2 million wildebeest and zebra and Thompson's gazelles that are going to come up here probably around about June time. I imagine for the elephants this is the best time of year. There's slightly less rain than during the long rain season, so it should be actually a bit drier than it is now. The grass is still in leaf. In other words, it hasn't put itself to straw. A straw, of course, is the stalks of grass on which the seeds grow, but that straw is often very sort of non-nutritious. There's not a lot of good stuff in it. So this time of year there's lots of leafy grass material, which is ideal for the elephants. They love that. There's lots of moisture also in all of the little streams around here. There's water for them to drink. It's not too hot. It's nothing like as hot as it is down in the Kruger, so they don't have to worry about that. I really think it is an idyllic time of the year for elephants. Yes, Rosemary, that is a tiny little elephant making its way into this gorgeous wilderness under the protection of its herd. Now, when we first saw this herd of elephants a little while back, in fact, probably about an hour ago, we first spotted them, they weren't happy with seeing us at all. And in fact, the cow on the far left-hand side, the one that's actually standing guard as we speak, that one there, she gave us a little charge. And so we just backed off a bit so that they could have some space. And all she was saying was, basically, we've got a very young one with us here, and we don't want to have any attention from vehicles, so stay away. And so we did, and she's relaxed now, and so it's entirely fine for us to be where we are. Righty, we're going to give you one more interesting creature for this little Nat Geo Kids Drive. It's a little reptile.
Well, unfortunately, our interesting creature is about to disappear on us, but you can see a big shell that is mobile through the bush, and it is indeed a tortoise, which is very, very cool. And in fact, it's a tortoise that has the same name as the animal that Jamie's with, so it's called a leopard tortoise, and this looks like a fairly large female that is moving around. It's a little bit tricky to tell male and female tortoises apart unless you kind of pick them up, but generally females are slightly bigger than the males, and in fact sometimes can be much bigger than the males. And in weather like like we're having this evening, you do see the tortoises coming out because it's cool enough that they can walk and not get too dehydrated. Remember that they're quite slow-moving animals, and so finding food and water, well, not food, but water, is a bit tricky, and so they like to move around when it's a bit kind of wetter. And basically, these guys move just like that, and they'll kind of go from water point to water point, feeding as they go, and then they'll tuck in all of their legs and head if they get themselves into a problem. And so they're very, very clever in that regard, because there's very few animals that can actually eat them. Anyway, it's that time of the day, unfortunately, where we need to say goodbye to all of you that have joined us for another Kids Safari. I hope that you've had a wonderful hour with us on this Saturday afternoon. There's been lots and lots of interesting things, including even spotty cats and tawny cats. So from all of us, it's been an absolute pleasure. Hopefully we'll see you again next week Saturday at the same time, same place. Until then, goodbye. Well, good afternoon, everybody. For those of you that have just joined us, now that we have concluded our Kids Safari for a Saturday afternoon, as you can see, there is a batelier teetering in the wind, much like what we are. In fact, with the wind that is blowing today, it feels very much the same, that we are being blown about all over the place. My name is Tristan. On camera, I've got Jeandre this afternoon. Yes, I know it's a shock. Jeandre is out, but it is a good thing that he is out. I'm sure he's going to enjoy the afternoon with us on a very chilly kind of change of weather that we're having today. Now, remember that we are coming to you live from South Africa and, of course, Kenya as well, and that means we want to hear from all of you. So hashtag SafariLive on Twitter or at FC on the YouTube chat. Remember to keep the questions coming, and hopefully we'll be able to kind of answer as many as they have, and remember to keep it relevant to what you're seeing on the screens. Now, Jeandre is going to pan off onto the lovely weather that we've got at the moment. You can see it's very different to this morning. This morning was beautiful sunshine, but now the wind is kicked up. There's big grey overcast clouds, and it's not very friendly out here at all. So hopefully this will kind of settle down as the evening goes, because we are on a mission to try and see if we can find... Oh, well done, you found the batelier again. We're on a mission to see if we can find Sibui. Jamie's had a bit of luck this afternoon already, and James seems to have had some luck in Kenya. But Steve and I, well, we're blanking at this stage. So we're going to try and see if we can find Sibui. In the meantime, though, I said Jamie had some luck, and, well, she had the best kind of luck because she's sitting with the little chief.
Good luck, Trist. I really hope that you do manage to find Sibui, because it would be a very special afternoon indeed. I think she's only ever been seen live once with Taylor, if I'm not mistaken. So that would be a really lovely sight. Now, speaking of lovely sights, we have Hosanna draped artistically over a termite mound. I'm not going closer to him yet, because he is actually hunting, and he's hunting quite seriously. There's some impala that I can't see at the moment that he might be after, or he could be after a steenbok. But what we do know about leopards is that even when they're lying down, it doesn't necessarily mean that they've given up on the whole hunting process. And he's actually definitely very, very alert. Now, the impala haven't seen him. We spoke about the fact that prey animals get nervous in this weather. Well, can you blame them? Oh, I love that paw. Oh, he looks so noble. He does have a certain mastery when it comes to posing, doesn't he? He just always gets the right angle. Yes, that's it. Look back over your right shoulder, now over your left. Maybe it's just because he's so gorgeous. All leopards are. Now he is hunting. Kuchava the other day took everyone by surprise. She went from lying down to bombshelling straight into the middle of a warthog family and caught herself a piglet before we even had time to blink. And I've had that happen. It actually happened to Craig and I once in the Mara. We were watching lions hunt warthog, and then they sort of looked like they'd given up. So did we. We weren't even paying attention. And the next thing, there was a full-blown hunt in progress, and we had to sort of scramble to get ourselves back into gear. So I'm just sitting patiently waiting. There are other vehicles as well in this sighting, so I'm going to be very careful as we move around him so that we don't mess up his hunt by mistake. It is possible to do, and we do our utmost to ensure that we don't. Look at your paw. You poser. You absolute poser. I've spoken to Steve on the Game Drive radio, and I've just asked him to go back and check and see whether or not I made a mistake with those tracks that I saw first, that around Shabam Road, just to see whether or not there is actually a female wandering around. Could easily be Tundi. I'm sort of hoping that if there is, Hosanna will just find her for us. He loves company, our kitty cat. I cannot believe it's been nearly 3 years. I remember that day so well. I thought Brent's brain was going to explode. He was so excited that he'd found these tiny little fluff ball cubs. He immediately showed me the photo that he got and then said, you know, there it is, it's so cute, and I couldn't see it for the life of me. So I nodded and smiled and said, yes, that's amazing. But it took me about 3 days before I could finally identify the cub in that picture. And now look at him. Linda says that it really is Cat-a-day. That is a relief, Linda, because this morning Alright, sorry, I was half distracted by the Game Drive radio. While Hosanna reclines, let us send you across to James in the Masai Mara, who has been very successful this afternoon.
Well, what he's up to is he's trying to find some lions and failing dismally. But what we do have is a bit of a boxing match over here. Beautiful elephants. We can find elephants everywhere we look. Now, do talk to us, remember, using the hashtag SafariLive or the YouTube chat stream. You may even want to just stick your head out of the window and shout. We might be lucky to hear you. Very pretty. You can feel the wind coming up. Well, you probably can't feel it, but you can certainly hear it, I'm sure. I don't think this is a serious fight. They look like two sort of just out of teenage years having a little bit of a boxing match. And very interestingly, we cannot find the sausage tree pride. We are scanning far and wide. Why, you might ask, are we so fascinated by finding the sausage tree pride? Well, the answer is because they've got two tiny little baby cubs. Ivy, we don't name elephant herds because we don't often see the same elephant herds. Sometimes we do, but we don't always. We have named some. For example, we call Fang's herd Fang. Fang is an elephant that we see quite often. Well, not actually very often. We see her probably once every 6 months or so with her recurved tusk. We have the short trunk herd, which is led by a matriarch who's got sort of the bottom third of her trunk missing. But otherwise, certainly in Kruger, you know, they roam massive distances and they go off Djuma and onto Djuma, you know, sometimes once every 3 months or so. And so we don't really develop them as characters because we don't spend as much time with them as we quite like to over here. And also here, you know, this area is so vast, we're never with one herd of elephants particularly often. So that's the story. Okay, let's carry on. Let's see if we can find some lions. It is getting blustery, but I think maybe that storm's going to hold off. Leopard lady, yes. Only male elephants really do that kind of boxing like that little sort of, I guess, teenage rough and tumble. Females will certainly get violent from time to time, sometimes with each other, often with young bulls, often when they're defending their herd, or if they are applying some discipline. They can certainly get violent, but they don't have those little wrestling matches, no. That is a function of testosterone, largely, I suspect. Both the curse and the blessing of man. Men, not man, men. A hormone that makes us what we are. Good and bad. We've got some beefaloes here. Let's have a quick look at them. Hello, beefaloes. There they are. 2 beefaloes sitting on the side of the road. One of them snoozing. One of them looking to see if we mean harm, which we don't. All right, we're not going to stay with the beefaloes. Let's go back across to Juma to find out if Steve has found Jamie's leopard.
Hello everybody, welcome. I hope you're having a wonderful afternoon. It is very nice and cool and overcast this side. It's myself, Steve, obviously, with Sebastian, the birthday boy, on camera. And we are indeed about to get to the area where Jamie left some female leopard tracks. She found the 2 on her way out. Well, she found 2 tracks this morning around Treehouse Dam of a male and a female. And then on her way around, ooh, where am I going? I think I'm going to go that way. And then on her way out this afternoon, she found them again, and they kind of merged with each other, but she seems to have found Hosanna, which means that there is a female leopard unaccounted for. So we're going to go and have a little look-see and see what we can find. Who could it be, ladies and gentlemen? Let's do a one-word tweet to see on hashtag SafariLive who could the leopard track belong to. And it has been confirmed, Jamie told me it is a female. So let's go and have a look, see what we can see. Oh, hang on, I am now going the wrong way. Now that I think about it, that way will be better. All roads lead to Rome, or in this case, Treehouse Dam. We could go that way. I think that will take us a little bit along a roundabout. Very windy, you can feel. We never get lost out here, Emma. Emma says a good way to feel things when we get a bit lost. You don't get lost. Temporarily disorientated is the term. When it's overcast like this, though, it is easy to get lost, because without direction of the sun or any stars, you can get very, very lost if you don't know your way around. Thankfully, Sebastian and myself know Juma like the back of our hands now. After working with the drone with him over the Gauntlet series and using that map and the drone and flying and seeing it all from the sky, it's quite incredible how well we know it now. So a lot of you are guessing it could be Tundi. I mean, I had a thought earlier when Jamie mentioned a male and a female track. I figured it might be Tundi with maybe Tingana following her, and maybe the love affair romance continues. But seeing now that Jamie has found Hosanna, well, let's hope that's not the case, that Hosanna and Tundi have had a little one-night stand. That'd be a bit offsides, wouldn't it? Be a bit offsides? Not unheard of, though, in the animal world. Not unheard of. Well, while we Well, over the thought of Hosana having a one-night stand with his big sister Tundi, let's go and ask the little chief himself.
You boozed. He is hungry. He's very hungry. I'm slightly... Well, actually, I'm completely discombobulated by Steve's conversation. It is, of course, entirely possible, but I don't think our boy is quite ready for that just yet. You know, there is another option, and that is that in my haste to find a leopard, I'm completely mis-ID'd the tracks and looked at them and thought it was a female. Just, it didn't look Hosana-sized. They really didn't, and they didn't this morning either. So, I mean, forgive me if I have made that error. There's a lot going on in our minds. And then, you know, they were so close to where Hosana's tracks crossed over Philemon's cut line and towards Rebecca's that maybe I made a mistake. Or maybe a female bumped into him and ran away before we saw her. I just don't know. I really don't. I'm not 100% convinced. We'll have to find out. Let's go get a second opinion from Steve. I'm sure he will be able to tell you. No, Anne, he has not. Hosana has not yet started mating, to the best of our knowledge, and I reckon we'd know. To be honest, we spend so much time with this cat that I don't think he could keep that a secret for very long, no matter how much he wished to. And he's still very young. I mean, 3 years old is a little bit young. And technically, I think everything's ready to work. You know, he could, physically, but I think that he is, you know, it's that mating process only really starts when the males are about 4 or 5 years old, and it really only happens when they're dominant in an area or they just have a bit more maturity psychologically. Now, I'm certain actually that Hosana has not mated, and I don't quite know how I'd feel if we were to come upon him mating now. I don't think it would be quite a surprising moment for all of us. I think it would just be a bit odd having watched him grow up. A rite of passage. No, that's weird. Okay, I'm going to take us out of this train of thought, send you across to James, who is with Hosana's arch nemesis, although, of course, not in the Masai Mara. That's a bit far away.
Well, it's very difficult to have a different train of thought after you've been given that one. And what would I think if I found Hosana mating? Well, difficult to say, you know. Of course, it would mean the end of his innocence, the end of his youth, the onset of adulthood and all its ugliness. And all, of course, all the privileges that go with adulthood and being a dominant male leopard. I suppose one would have to give him a little high five and say, well, welcome to adulthood, old fellow, old sock. And then find another young leopard and watch them grow up like this young hyena. Anyway, we're sitting here with 2 hyenas that just pitched up on the side of the road. We're not sure why they pitched up on the side of the road or where they've been. We've decided we're going to go south from where we are now because that is where our original lioness came from. And so therefore, perhaps the rest of the pride is down there sitting on a buffalo or something like that. I also just want to show you quickly, can we go way off to the hartebeestes over there? There we go. You won't be able to see them there, but there they are. Now, I think that white backside of theirs is quite interesting because it is like basically putting painted rocks in the bush. Extremely easy to see. Why they should have beacons on their backsides, I'm not really sure. I've no doubt that you will find any number of textbooks that will tell you that they're like that so that they can follow each other. However, I really don't know why they'd need a bright white beacon to follow each other. Maybe they do at night, I don't know. It's just quite interesting how obvious it does make them. I suppose if you're a lion looking for hartebeest, it's probably not. You know, you can probably see them regardless of the white bit. And so the advantage of the white bit making them more obvious to each other is probably outweighs the disadvantage. Very interesting, very beautiful. Wind coming up. We're going to move. Let's see if we can find the lions. Yes, many of you saying something to mull over. Well, I wouldn't mull over it too much. I don't think it's a particularly serious subject. Let's just enjoy the hartebeesties, I think. Good. Oh, I have not addressed this, actually. I've meant to address this. And I don't know... Oh, sorry, Emma, can you give me the name of the person who's reared this question, please, again? I'm not worried about the awkward silence. I want the name of... What's your name? No. Who has asked? Who has asked? Wee Sweet. Wee Sweet, you have asked the question if I have addressed the fact that the cam ops this morning voted me the worst driver at SafariLive. I haven't processed it in my mind. I'm not sure if Bungay was asked. Well, you asked Bungay. You say no, sort of. Bungay doesn't want to confess that he probably also voted me the worst driver at Wild Earth. I think that's probably, unfortunately, I'd love to be angry about it. I think it's probably not entirely inaccurate, though, unfortunately. I'd love to be able to rail against the people who have sullied my name such, but as Bungay will attest, I have bumped him many times to the extent that he's lost 3 or 4 teeth as a result of my not seeing a bump or a hole in the road. The same goes for a number of the other cam ops. I will say this, however, I think I've got slightly better at not getting stuck. I haven't got stuck that much. I also might be slightly uncomfortable to drive with, but I don't break cars as many as other people do. But yes, I will take on the fact that I am the least comfortable driver. I'm trying to be better, I promise. Who's the top breaker of cars now that Brent Leo Smith has left us? Brent Leo Smith, of course, will tell you that he's never broken a car in his life, in the same way that he'll tell you he's never got stuck before in his life. I think maybe David Gathamba Githu is going to have to take on the mantle of greatest vehicle breaker at the moment. He's managed to crack a diff, which is quite impressive. It is quite easy to do that in the Mara. If you're driving through the grass after something hunting and there happens to be a rock hiding in the grass, it's almost impossible to avoid it. Who else is quite good at braking cars? I think everyone's all right at the moment, actually. Okay, well, while I resent you, or resent everybody for saying that I am not only worse, I'm worse than all the guides, the cam ops, I think the tech crew, the production crew as well. I think they said I was worse than, so you can go and discuss that with Jamie.
Perfect timing. Hassan is up and about. The wind is howling in from the south, and Hassan is definitely thinking about taking advantage of the confusion that it's going to cause. Ah, isn't that beautiful with the sky behind it and the green? Such stunning contrasts there. That is beautiful. Really, really is. There's something about a leopard against a grey sky that is just so spectacular. Oh, now we're having a jolly good scratch. Oh. I think it's Jennifer. I can't really hear because the wind is howling. And Jennifer wants to know if Hassan is going to have a birthday party. What do you think, my boy? What would you like? Would you like a birthday party? I reckon... Oh, jumpy kitty cat. I reckon he wants a birthday party. Look at him. He's definitely having a birthday party, whether he wants it or not. We're going to put a little hat on him and have streamers and have all sorts of things for his birthday. And we're off again. He's... Oh, no, not in there, Hosanna. Emma says I sound like a proper mom. Well, you know, he's got a whole host of aunts and uncles in the Wild Earth team. He is, of course, not aware of this, but he doesn't have an option, and we love him to bits. And am I going to have a birthday party for a leopard? Am I willing to dispense with that level of guiding dignity in a professional industry where we don't treat animals as if they have birthdays? Am I willing to do that? Of course I am. So, Sana, I don't give a two hoots, I mean, is what I was always going to say about what people think of me having a birthday for a leopard. James Richard has said that Arsana is on a proper hunting mission with his head on a swivel, hunting in stereo mode. That's very clever. I'm in so much trouble. I've taken completely the wrong way. Now I've broken a tree. Now it's all over my bonnet. How are you doing there, Craig? You live? For now, says Craig. Hey, listen, I'd have you know I'm the best driver here. I didn't even say it myself, so, you know. Oh, where's he gone? The best driver here just lost the leopard. Where'd he go? Oops. I'm so busy pulling sticks out. Whoopsies. Okay. Well, no one ever said I was the best leopard finder. No, this didn't. Didn't go well. Watch your head there, Craig. It's gonna. I have regrets. I have made mistakes. I have a roof. So many things about this is not ideal. There we go. Okay. Craig, let's just settle with this for now, because I'm gonna have to go round, I think. Can you see him there? Yeah. I didn't put the pole in your way. I don't really want to move behind him while he's hunting. It's just going to cause him severe difficulty, because as soon as I drive over a branch or something like that and it snaps, the prey's going to look up, and if I'm behind him, they're immediately going to see him. Whereas if we're to the side of him, then it's okay. But driving behind a predator while they're hunting is not ideal. Okay. Right, let us march ourselves onwards. This is a horrible block. I'm going to do my utmost to keep up with him, but my clutch was already giving me trouble. No, we'll manage it. He's going straight towards Gallagher. I know what's going to happen is, because we're in the little car, Aubrey's going to go round, he's going to see him, and then we're going to follow him, and Aubrey's just going to go around the road. So many stumps. So many flat tire causes. Aren't I moaning a lot today? I'm sure I'll get a tweet about it later. Oh, we're coming back now. I'm just going to sit here for a second, because he looks like he's actually going to come back here. He's about to pop out. There we go. Oh, now he's stopped. You absolute naughty leopard. Perfect, Craig. Best view ever. There we go. Okay, we are going to stick with Hosanna like glue. The buffalo, however, are trying to give James the slip.
We cannot find any lions, but we have found some buffalo that are running, and they've been running for a long time. From what they're running, we cannot tell, because they've run at least 1 kilometer since we've started seeing them running. You know what they probably could be running from is the storm. Maybe they don't want to be caught in the rain. Although I think we're probably going to be okay today. I'm not sure we're going to get smacked. They're certainly marathon running buffalo. No lions yet, just the one where we had her. We haven't been back there. I'm afraid the comms broke up there. Did you get that, Bunga? Mawindi or something has a question about something or other. Oh, Marek, your name is not Mawindi, your name is Marek. Marek, lions do hunt when it's windy, they absolutely do. It's a good time for lions to hunt, especially as the sun goes down. Wind masks their scent, if they use it correctly, and it also, of course, masks their sound. And so lions will most certainly use wind to hunt, especially in the woodland. Maybe slightly less here because the grass makes a bit less noise than the leaves on the trees that you'd find at Juma. Anyway, there they are. They continue to gallop aimlessly across the plains. It really is quite bizarre. I can see some lightning in the background, but I don't think that they're running away from a storm, surely. It's utterly, it's so strange. I thought they were having a fight to start with, but they're not, because the bigger one is in front. So why they should be behaving in this bizarre manner? Maybe they're doing training or something. Iron buffalo. Training for the iron buffalo race. It is, I agree with you. Many of you saying it's mesmerizing watching them run. It is. It's so odd. Well, I think our plan from here is going to be to head up onto the top of this hill and then turn down towards the east and back down towards the Brook Stream area and see if we don't get lucky there. I believe that the Vov is still tracking. Let's go and find if the Vov has found anything on the end of his tracks.
Thanks, James. We are indeed still searching. We got to the junction Jamie was talking about. I found Hosanna's tracks. I couldn't find the female's tracks, but a few vehicles have driven there. So very easy to disturb or to drive over tracks. And if, leopard walks in a straight line and your car drives on that line, well, gone. So I can't find those female tracks she was talking about, but I most certainly did find Hosanna's coming from Treehouse Dam itself. But she has got him. We're going to just drive around, see maybe if I can pick up any tracks, but then we're going to get onto Zoe's Road, which is here in the west. Possible that the Nkuhuma Pride might come in from the west. They were around this morning, and when it's windy like this, I often find lions. Linda, let me pull up for you here in a second, and we will show you the sky. It is going to be raining somewhere. Just pull up in the open here. It is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful afternoon. And without the rainfall that is falling over there, none of anything we do out here would be possible. Look at that. Very ominous, isn't it? I haven't heard any lightning. There's still an enormous cyclone system sitting off of the east coast further south from where we are, which is generating all of this moisture. The warm Indian Ocean in our summer months evaporates lots of moisture into the atmosphere, and the currents push it inland, and that's what gives this part of the world a summer rainfall. Beautiful. Chris, the wet season is definitely here. I mean, the wet season, when I went on leave, we got a whole lot of rain and all the watering holes have semi-filled up, which has been quite good. But what we saw this previous year was we also had some some sort of medium rain around December, January, but then we had lots of late rain that came as late as April, which is, the red-crested korhaan off to our left-hand side, which is generally, it's quite uncommon, but it's definitely a sign of climate change, that the seasons are changing. We're not even really experiencing winter like we used to. Some impala looking a little bit skittish. Are they going to help us find the unkuhumas or some lions, perhaps? So we're seeing the rains falling later, but also lasting longer, or should I say lasting longer into the season. So April, May is generally when our winter or autumn starts to sort of fall in, but we're getting late rains. So rains generally in the savannah come as early as September, October. We didn't get anything in September, October here. It was absolutely desolate. Comment from Rog and Bianca. They have commented on SafariLive for Sebastian's birthday. They are good friends of his. And, well, they actually called us a little while ago and we had a little chat as well. So, Rog and Bianca and your little daughter Zoe, thank you for all the comments. And Seb is very happy. He's beaming behind the camera. Show them how you're beaming, Seb. Yeah. Oh, he's only going to show you his hand. Not going to show you his face. But anyway, we're going to continue on down into the ominous setting. Well, there's not even a sun to talk about, but into some darkness prevailing in, which is the southwestish sort of side, and that is an area that we often do get our rain from. The wind is coming from that direction, so maybe it will move in. Don't know. Can't predict it anymore. Jamie and I were having a long chat about it earlier, and she says she's done trying to predict the rain. Done trying to predict when it's going to fall. Because you know what happens in the low veld, what we call orographic rainfall, is it falls wherever it wants to. It's not a blanket rain. Like if any of you are from the UK or Ireland, you know when it rains there, it rains everywhere, covers the whole landscape. Whereas here, it will fall over there and you see it coming and this huge lightning storm build up. You get so excited. Ooh, hello boys. Getting a little bit antsy there. Some impala rams running around. Nothing else to do in this weather but to run around and chase each other. Isn't he quick? Off he goes. So it's just they're a little bit jumpy, and here they are off on the right-hand side. The males are really getting a little bit antsy with each other. It's definitely a boys' afternoon. I haven't even seen a single female animal yet today. All boys. A little bit jumpy. They're also a little bit worried about the rain, I suppose, when it's windy like this. I suppose they really would like the rain. It'll bring the nutrients and the vegetation even further along from where it is. Give them the energy for the rutting season. They're starting to build up. The pheromones are going to start being released by the females in the next 2 months or so. And all these males are starting to get a little bit stronger, using their necks and fighting techniques. And you can see they're still relatively close to each other. In the next 2-3 months, you're not going to see them within 5 to 10 meters of each other. They just can't stand each other's company. But anyway, an animal who has upgraded and quite enjoys male impala, the little chief, Hosanna.
There. Okay, Hosanna has struck it lucky. He's still licking the injury on his leg, but he's spotted some male impala that are probably less than, I would say, 50 yards from where we're sitting. So there they are now. They have no inkling that he's there. You can see the big male's actually looking in completely the wrong direction. They're totally relaxed. They're going to walk straight towards him, if I'm any judge. Oh, they might go back towards the pan. So there he is. He's just a flat pile of spots for now. And he's going to take full advantage of their distraction. Now, the wind is perfectly with him. The impala to him. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull some additional viewers on board so that they can share this moment with us. Good afternoon, or good evening, actually, and welcome to another extraordinary scene out here in the wilds of Africa. So to set the scene a little bit, we're sitting with a leopard. He is barely visible through the thicket, and he is on the hunt for some antelope that are probably about 50 or so yards away. And all of this is happening live right here, right now, in a place called Djuma. That's DJUMA Private Game Reserve, which is in the Greater Kruger National Park area of South Africa, so right up in the top northeastern corner. And because this is live, you can send through your questions and comments in the comments section below. And just a quick introduction, because he's not moving, although I'm going to keep my head on a swivel. My name is Jamie. This afternoon, Craig is on camera with me, and this lovely male leopard's name is Hosanna. And we've just been discussing whether or not we should throw him a birthday party, because he's about to turn 3 years old. We've known him since he was very little. But now it's down to the more serious business. He, of course, doesn't care whether or not he has a birthday party. He just wants a jolly good meal. Pug says, go boy, go. Yes, absolutely. I always find that when watching hunts like this, it is more about the skill of the predator pitted against the extremely acute senses of the prey. So it's not really about the kill, although of course all predators have to eat. It's about the process building up to it. Now Hosanna could sit here very patiently for the next who knows how long, but those impala were very, very close to him. And we know that he is a skilled hunter, and he's got plenty of cover. The only problem is that there's quite an open stretch where the road cuts through this thicket, and that's what he's got to navigate. He's got to get from there to where the impala are, because of course leopards are ambush predators. They are fast, but only over very short distances. Zephyr, yes, absolutely. Far more important for him as a birthday impala. He is injured. He's got a nasty wound on his back left leg, which has caused him a degree of discomfort, I think. It's probably very, very sore. It's not going to in any way endanger his life, but it is quite uncomfortable. Oh, we're just going to sit for a moment just to see what he does. Now, those impala, normally I would say if it was a typical sort of South African day, I would say there's a chance they're going to go towards the water to have a drink, but it's actually quite cold this afternoon. There's a big storm system off our eastern coast, and it's overcast and quite chilly. And as a result, it makes the movement of the impala more difficult to predict. And the same thought process is probably going through Hosanna's mind. He is barely visible in this thicket. Gold against green. Gary, yes, absolutely. And for us, that's always a gamble, because of course we're on nature's timetable, not our own. So that means that predicting when the animal's actually going to hunt is actually quite tricky. We missed a hunt just a few days ago because the female leopard looked as though she'd gone to sleep and then all of a sudden shot into action. So it can be very, very difficult to predict how something like this is going to play out, but they are patient. If you think about the immense amount of energy that each hunt... Look how he's looking. Look, there he goes. Look at him move. Belly low, low, low to the ground. One wrong move, one wrong stick stepped on, and the hunt is over for him. I can't move now. Here he goes. He's covering the ground so quickly. He's going to probably stop there because it's quite an open stretch, so he just took the moment to move into another good position. Just see his spots there through the trees. Apparently all of you feeling the anticipation in the same way we are. Now, in a situation like this, we have to be very, very careful that we don't disrupt the process in any way. So I apologize for the bad views. but we definitely don't want to sabotage him in any way. So just wait patiently, because he's going to come out into the open. Joshua, you want to know if he'll go for the ram, the big impala ram, or the young male that we saw a little bit earlier. Joshua, I would say that it really depends on who's closest when he moves into a better position. So I suspect that there might even be some ewes there as well, some female impala. That's him there. Can you believe it? Next to invisible. You can see why their camouflage works so well. Promise you there's a leopard hiding behind there. If you have jumped on board, this is live, which means we don't edit out just to show you the best bits. We show you the whole process. Gina says that it is so beautiful. It is, I've lost track of the impala, but it is beautiful. This whole process of, first of all, the leopard's camouflage, green against the gold against the green. But secondly, the way in which nature plays out in a completely unscripted manner. I can actually see the impala. I don't think Craig can from where he is. I can. Lisa says that it's crazy how well he camouflages. It is, isn't it? It's really, really, really quite extraordinary. Lisa only just spotted him. He spots through the spots. So there's those impala that he's aiming for. It's a big open stretch. If only I could tell him. Not that I really feel as though he knows how to do this better than I do. But I wish I could tell him to come this way. There's a bit more cover. Carly, want to know how close the impala are to Hosanna. I would say around about 50 or so yards. So they're very close, but still too far for him to actually launch his attack. I've lost him now. His camouflage is working so well, I can't even see him. This is extraordinary. Now you'll notice that we actually have a roof on the top of our vehicle. That's because it is so gloomy that we thought it was going to rain. Let's just give it a couple more seconds. I'm watching the impala. We can reposition now, so let me move ever so slightly, because they've moved out of our eye line. So basically what I'm avoiding doing is attracting the attention of the impala to him. But because of the way that we're angled, we are okay to move now. Oh, hold on, the impala are moving. No, we're good. So what he's doing is he is constantly watching to see if their heads are up or down. Now, Jonathan, you want to know what the largest animal is that Hosanna could hunt. Jonathan, Hosanna is a gifted hunter. Just let me know there, Craig. I'm not going to go all the way around. Do you have a gap there? Yeah. I'll go back a little bit. There's even an impala lying down, There's a very, very good chance he's going to be successful. There we go. Now, let me just finish the question about what the largest prey is. We've seen him with a young buffalo. He could actually potentially soon hunt a young giraffe. He's nearly big enough now. But at the moment, a big kudu, something along those lines. Erica, I'd completely forgotten what your question was, or comment was. These impala are actually now moving straight towards us. Oh, I think there's a chance he might have been spotted. Erica says the suspense is killing her. You and me both. Imagine how Hosanna feels. If he fails here, he can't just go down to the grocery store and pick himself up some freshly nice packed meat or some cat food. Everything hinges on this. Vicky says, make Dad proud. Dad, of course, being a big dominant male leopard known as a Tingana. He's dominant in this area. He too is a formidable hunter, although recently has been relying more and more on the skills of his son, and quite frequently steals the food from his son, because Hosanna is still quite a lot smaller than Tingana. So I don't know if it's so much as make Dad proud or perhaps feed Dad. He's impala are... You can see the way he looks almost as though he's given up, but he hasn't. It's just that game of patience that he's playing. Oh, the impala are going to counteract the effect of the wind by staying in the open. Now, Frederick, you want to know if the animals can hear us talk. They can, absolutely. I'm not trying to keep my voice down, and I'm doing that for a couple of quite important reasons. The most important being that the impala are used to vehicles. They're used to seeing people, so seeing us here is not out of the ordinary. But if I were to start to whisper, if I were to start to sort of try and hide away from them, then that would cause problems, because then they would wonder what I was up to or what I was doing. So you can see they're not afraid of me. There's some looking up at me, but most of them are relaxed. They're feeding. So if I were to start whispering and trying to hide away, then there's a good chance that they would actually get a fright. So they can hear me. I'm not trying to pretend I'm not here. I'm in a giant smelly vehicle in their minds, but they're comfortable with the giant smelly vehicle, so we're not doing any harm here. But obviously it's very important that we are exceptionally careful. There's one slightly alert impala, more alert than its companions. And Hosana cannot move until that one there puts its head down. There we go. Oh no, still not completely relaxed. Oh, there's a reason that these youngsters have survived as long as they have. Alvin says hello from the Bahamas and that it looks warmer there than it is here. I cannot agree with you more. I, right now, imagine some time in the sunny Bahamas would be truly pleasant. I'm not going to complain too much, though, because the last few days, or actually the last week or so, the temperatures have been well over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. We've been sitting around 38, 40 degrees centigrade, occasionally even more because of the humidity. So I'm not going to complain over one somewhat cool, cloudy day. Now, Rose, you want to know if leopards hunt like house cats? To a degree, yes. There's a certain similarity. They're part of the same greater family. This is part of the Carnivora order and then the Felidae family. So there's some similarities. There's a few differences. Obviously, the prey that they're going for is much larger than a house cat. Why is that important? Well, it could actually do them some serious injury, which is what's happened to Hosana, we think. So there's a bit more caution. They also don't know where their next meal is coming from, so they cannot afford to squander energy by launching an attack that isn't going to work or an effort that isn't going to work. They're very unsuccessful, actually, statistically, in terms of the hunts that they succeed with. Oh, these impala are actually moving away. This could take oh, no, maybe not. The big male's causing trouble. He is sort of scattering the youngsters. They're moving around away from him. Now that could really work to Hosana's favor because he's distracting them. Xavier wants to know if they only hunt big animals like impala. No, not necessarily. It also really depends upon the leopard. So a small female will only hunt slightly smaller prey, although most of the females here are capable of tackling an impala. But if there's a baby warthog or a scrub hare, something small, they're opportunistic, so they'll go for it. Any food is better than no food at all. So yes, they will hunt. They'll try and go for something larger because it means it's a good meal for them, but not too large that it could cause injury. Deborah says, how do they get through the bushes? It looks so thick. It is. It absolutely is. Part of what he's using are those tremendously long whiskers, especially when he's fully concentrated on racing towards his prey. That'll help to stop him poking an eye out or something like that as he runs through. But they're conditioned to this. They're incredibly agile creatures. All right, I think we've reached a bit of a stalemate here. I do think we've reached a stalemate. The impala haven't got any closer, and Hosana, until it gets dark, cannot cross this open area. So for now, things haven't gone his way. I was hoping the impala might move towards him, but he's not going to manage with where they are now. So what that means from my side is I'm going to bid you farewell. For the moment, you never know, we might be back live once again when he gets up and moves towards them. If you want to continue on with your safari, you can Google SafariLive and you'll find us on every day, twice a day, and you can get to know little Hosana a little better, or not so little Hosana a little better. Thank you for joining us as Hosana's dinner moves off. We hope to catch you again soon. Alright, so Hosana, the impala have now moved away. Now he's going to move forward naturally because we closed the unscheduled broadcast. But he's still got quite a way to go. I don't think we made the wrong call there. He's got quite a distance to cover. The impala went the wrong direction. If they'd come out onto the road, he would have had a very, very good chance at success. But now he's actually got his work cut out for him, and I think this is going to extend into the dark, would be my guess. Oh. No, they've just run back again. Nervous, nervous. Okay, everybody, it's that time. I'm going to sit patiently with Hosana. You're going to travel all the way up to the Mara to join James. Let's see what he has to tell you.
Hello everybody, I'm not sure exactly what happened with Hosana's hunt. I think I lost comms at the moment there. Anyway, we went to follow up on something that Isaac thought may be lions in the far distance. We think maybe they were warthogs, they've disappeared. Anyway, we're now going to go back towards our original lioness and try and make her work for our TV rehearsal, which is coming up in about 35 minutes. Do not go off the road. Elephants all over this place, which is marvellous. This is where we had the sausages last week on our TV show. They are unfortunately not here now. They have forsaken us, betrayed us, betrayed our trust and faith and love for them. Anyway, I suppose it matters to them. They are lions after all. I suppose I better put some lights on. Very exciting that Hosana was out hunting. A bit sad that he didn't actually kill something. Have we seen him kill? We haven't seen him kill an antelope yet, have we? Oh, yes, we have. Of course we have. On the dam cam, we've seen him do it many times. Yes. We haven't caught him on drive, I don't think. But on the dam cam, he's been particularly impressive. Emma, are you still there? Oh, we are still here. Okay. Yes, everybody agreeing it would be nice to see a hunt with Hosana soon. So it would be. It would also be nice to see the Sausage Tree Pride. Well, it's going to get a little marshy in here. So many elephants, it's just wonderful. All over the place, little herds of ellies. Alrighty, let's go back to Steve, everybody. We're going to try and find the lions, finally.
Go have a little look. Thanks, Jamie. Well, the little chief, hopefully he gets to catch himself some dinner. When we found the tracks and the activity of where the Unkuhumas were this morning, they kind of just popped in here this morning, and then they probably went out that way. But it's very windy, it's very overcast, there's a very good chance lions could be moving in this weather. We still have only found male animals this afternoon. We found another group of male impala there that are a little bit skittish in the open. And we're going to do a little loop around here to power lines and see if maybe the Unkuhumas have decided to pop back in. with the wind, it might be the case that they might pop in because, well, you know, we do have a rehearsal this evening, and the Nkuhumas are quite well known to just pop in every now and again for a moment when we have some form of a TV show, although our TV show is tomorrow night. Who knows? This is an area they do like to frequent. But all in all, it's been a lovely, cool afternoon. Nice to have a different change up in the seasons in the middle of January, to have a very cool day. The opposites of what James is experiencing. He's normally got these cool days the last few weeks, and it's the opposite for us. But hopefully we get some rain. But let's quickly go over to Jamie and the little chief.
I'm sorry to drag you away from Steve. Just very quickly, these impala have walked straight towards Hosanna, and a second ago it looked like one was about to step on him. They've got absolutely no idea that he's here. I think the only thing that's stopping them, sorry about the pole, I can't move now, the only thing that's stopping them from actually walking straight into him is that he's in a thicket and they don't want to go into the thicket. That was crazy how close they came. I really thought he was going to launch and get one, which is why I rushed you away from Steve. We're going to extend the drive for 1 minute, after which unfortunately we cannot do so because we've got certain things we really need to do for the rehearsal. So we're giving you as much time as we possibly can, I promise. Oh, they've moved away again. I'm sorry, Emma. It was so close. So close. I was convinced he was going to get one there. All right. And that concludes our sunset safari, everyone. I'll keep you updated as to whether or not he does manage to get some dinner tonight. And we'll catch you tomorrow morning on the sunrise safari. So for now, a big thank you for joining us. We hope that you had fun. And we'll catch up with you in a few short hours with all sorts of amazing wildlife things.